Today, we're jumping into something that probably lives right in the palm of your hand, the fear of missing out, or FOMO. We're going to explore how this feeling is so tangled up with social media, especially for Gen Z, and what it's actually doing to our mental health. So, let's get right into it.
You know that feeling? You're scrolling through your feed, and you get that little pang in your stomach, that worry that everyone, everywhere is living a better, more exciting life than you are? Yeah, if that sounds familiar, you are absolutely not alone. It's basically a core part of the social media experience for millions of us.
So, here's what we've got on deck for today. First, we'll dig into how we even got here, what we're calling the age of FOMO. Then, we'll look at the two sides of the coin, the tough side with its endless comparison, but also the good side where people find real connection. And we'll wrap it all up with what we can actually do about it, from our own habits to the people around us.
Okay, so what is FOMO really? The term itself actually popped up back in 2004, and this definition nails it. It's not just about missing one party. It's this deep-down, nagging anxiety that other people are out there having these amazing experiences, and you're not. And that feeling fuels this constant need to stay plugged in. You know, the feeling of being left out is as old as time, but social media has just cranked the volume up to 11, 24/7.
And that's a perfect lead-in to our first section. I mean, to really get why FOMO is such a huge deal right now, you have to look at the generation that has literally never known a world without the internet. And wow, think about how fast this all happened. It all kind of started back in 1997 with a site called 6 Degrees, when being online was still a pretty new thing. By 2002, Friendster was gaining steam right as the internet hit 500 million users. But 24 was the game changer. Facebook's launch didn't just give us a new website, it basically created the blueprint for everything that came next. And get this, in a perfect storm of timing, 24 is the exact same year the term FOMO was first used.
And this is exactly why we're zeroing in on Gen Z. If you were born between 1995 and 2010, you are a true digital native. For this entire generation, there's no before social media. They grew up completely immersed in these platforms, which just means they've been uniquely exposed to all the pressures and anxieties that come with living your life online.
And all that time online, that constant exposure, well, that brings us right to the downside. If you think of social media as a double-edged sword, this is the sharpest, nastiest edge. That never-ending cycle of comparing your real life to everyone else's curated highlight reel and the psychological price you pay for it.
And listen to this quote from a first-year college student. It just nails the feeling, doesn't it? It's not just about what you're missing, it's that it consumes you. This constant, uneasy feeling of being left out of the loop. It's like everyone else got a memo that you didn't. That's a perfect description of that pervasive anxiety we were talking about.
And look, this isn't just a few people feeling this way. The scale of this thing is, well, it's massive. While we have almost 5 billion people on social media, some studies suggest that around 210 million people are dealing with what you could call an outright addiction. And that addiction is the engine that keeps FOMO running, creating that compulsive need to check and check and check again.
And this is the really important part. This isn't just a passing mood. It has real psychological consequences. It all comes down to something called social comparison theory, which is just a fancy way of saying it's human nature to figure out our own worth by comparing ourselves to others. But when you compare your messy, real life to the polished, perfect lives you see online, it can directly lead to stuff like this: lower life satisfaction, more anxiety, a hit to your self-confidence, and just that constant feeling of not being good enough. It's a truly vicious cycle.
Okay, but it would be a huge mistake to just paint this whole picture as doom and gloom, because it's not. So now, let's flip the script and talk about the other side of that sword, the incredible power social media has to create connection, to be a digital lifeline.
Yeah, let's just be super clear here. It is not all bad. For so many people, especially young people, these platforms offer amazing opportunities to learn, to express themselves, and maybe most importantly, to find their community.
I mean, seriously, social media can be an actual lifeline. It's a place where you can find genuine peer support and join positive communities where it's okay to talk about mental health. For marginalized groups like LGBTQ+ youth, it can provide safe spaces that might not exist for them offline. And on top of all that, it's just an incredible tool for finding information, for being creative, and for showing the world who you are.
Okay, so we've got this really complicated picture, right? The good, the bad. So what do we do? How do we move forward? This next section is all about things we can actually do. How to take back some control and build a healthier relationship with our digital lives. All right, let's get practical. Here are 4 key strategies for taking back control. First up, set digital limits. Super simple. Just be intentional about when you're online and when you're not. Second, mindful consumption. Every so often, just ask yourself, how is this content actually making me feel right now? Third, actively seek out positive interactions. And finally, number 4, focus on the present. And that last one might be the most powerful. One student in a study said that simply practicing mindfulness was the best way they found to fight back against FOMO. Pretty amazing.
But here's the thing, changing your own habits is awesome, but it's only half the battle. This isn't something anyone should have to tackle alone. Our final section is all about that wider network of support that's so crucial for helping young people find their way in this digital world.
And building that healthier environment, it really does take a village. Everyone has a role to play here. Parents, you can open up those lines of communication about what's happening online. Educators can provide support when digital stress spills over into school. The community can help create those safe spaces and peer groups. And friends, well, friends are right there on the front lines, offering that critical support when things get tough. So at the end of the day, what's the big takeaway here? The goal isn't to demonize social media or tell everyone to delete their accounts. It's a huge part of modern life. The real challenge, the real goal, is for all of us to figure out how to build a more balanced, more mindful, and more intentional relationship with the tech in our pockets. And that leaves all of us with one last, really big question to chew on. We've talked about how we can change our habits and support each other, but what about the technology itself? The challenge for all of us, moving forward, is to think about how we can collectively build and design digital spaces that foster genuine connection, without it coming at the expense of our well-being. Thanks for joining me for this explainer.